Hi, I'm Tracy Walton, Atlassian consultant at Isos Technology, and I'm here today with Ann Kacherman, our principal Agilist. And today we're going to talk about organizational visibility. A lot of organizations today are relying on reporting for visibility into what their teams are working on, how their investments are tracking to plan, et cetera. So talk to us a little bit, Ann, about your experience with your customers and their ability really to have clean line of visibility into what's going on.
So this happens a lot where, you go through a status meeting, maybe you're having weekly status, monthly status, quarterly status. You have all kinds of status meetings and everything seems to be either, green or maybe just a little bit yellow. And maybe once in a while there's a red status somewhere here and there. And what does it all mean? What are we getting from this? Okay, everything, the things that we signed up to do, we're progressing on them and everything's green. But then what happens, right? You don't find out as a leader, you don't find out until the very late in the stage that, oh, you know what? That thing that we released last week, it caused a domino effect on all of our systems. We've had several outages because of it. And you may or may not have been informed because people want to protect how you're viewing them, right? How you're perceiving how things are going. Oh no, everything's fine. And I think we talked a little bit earlier about the watermelon, right? It's green on the outside, but red on the inside. And so how do we get better on that? How do we, this is a problem, right? As a leader, you need to know exactly how your teams are working and exactly what's going on.
A couple of different aspects that I want to highlight from what you're saying. So one is really like the amount of status reports and the quality of those reports from a perspective of like, what does that really mean? And does that really give me the information that I need to help lead our teams in, the work that they're doing? And then the other thing that I heard you say that was really interesting was around kind of like a safety, or a trust. Like I'm using my reporting up as a way to kind of protect the way that we are perceived, and that's almost like putting the teams ahead of the customer in that regard. Cause I'm more concerned about how, like my job and how we're viewed than I am about really exposing the information that's necessary for us to make the best decisions for our customers and ultimately for our business.
Right. Yeah. And there's definitely some issue in that, right? We've got folks that are sort of interpreting what's going on at the team level, and they're interpreting it and transposing it when they explain to the leadership how things are progressing. So when there are that many status meetings, status reports, green, red, yellow, you really don't know how to sift through that. And as a leader, you almost get a little bit glazed over, like, do you want me to do anything about this? Thanks for updating me on a green thing that's going well. And as a leader, you really do need to be brought in really only when things are going wrong. And culturally, we need to be okay with that. And you need to make strategic decisions on certain high level items. And when that is not, when your input or your strategic decision making isn't needed, then there needs to be no status about it. Like just assume that things are going well. And when they're not, let's get involved and let's make that strategic decision. Let's problem solve and let's figure it out.
Because there's two aspects to this, right? There's the asking the right kinds of questions to get the information that you need to make good decisions. And then also like the tooling that's supporting it. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure thing. So basically, in an organization, when it grows, it becomes a large company with maybe thousands of people. There's different ways of tracking work. And what happens is you've got one team doing it this way and they're tracking it maybe on an Excel spreadsheet or in this software or somewhere else. And then you've got teams, other teams tracking it in different places. And that person who has to culminate all that data, they're going to have to look at the multiple different systems and tap into status. Or they're also not even looking at the system. They're also hearing it from another lower level manager that's, maybe it's more on the ground level of the team and, working with the ins and outs of what the teams are working through. And then they're reporting up. And then that person is then taking their report and reporting up to the senior leadership. So when that happens, it's like that telephone game where, the message gets deviated. So
until it's too late.
Yeah, until it's too late, exactly. And then all of a sudden the leader's like, wait a second, I thought you said we're on track. And now you have to kind of come clean a little bit. Well, 2 weeks ago when we did that release, it caused this to happen. And we thought we could fix it, but it's looking like we're not going to be able to fix it. And the leaders kind of left like, wait a second, why didn't you come to me sooner? And there's definitely a lot of forgiveness with that. I'm like, okay, I understand. You didn't want to tell me quite yet. And here we are today. So what are we going to do about it? Right? A leader can't really complain about that situation because it's like, okay, I empathize with you, but what do we do now? So it's important to have a tool that rolls up data and provides those leaders with easy to access status, so that they could click through it if they needed to, or they can get someone to help them figure out how to make sense of it all and make strategic decisions as it's happening.
Yes, real time, definitely. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the gap of time between gathering the report or the status and when it's presented. That's on top of its reliability.
The reliability factor is real because as soon as you remove data from the actual system, it becomes out of date. Like if you print a report,
Absolutely.
if you a screenshot on a PowerPoint slide, it's already automatically out of date because theoretically your teams are working every minute that you're in business. And so things are changing. And so, you might be preparing a PowerPoint slide for a Friday afternoon meeting, and you're preparing that Thursday night to send to somebody to put on a bunch of other slides, and already Friday afternoon, it's completely out of date.
All right. So let's talk about, the alternative. What are some options for switching this around and really building in visibility and reliability and trust in communication?
One way to solve this problem is to relook at the metrics or relook at the status. And what status do we really want to focus on? Do we want to focus on whether a project is red, yellow, or green? Or perhaps let's talk about what business value was delivered to the customer. How much business value has this team of teams delivered to the customer in this time frame? And what is the progress on that? And are we releasing on a cadence? Are we releasing faster over time? Maybe that could be one of the goals of the company, is to say, okay, we did 3 releases last month. Let's do 4, and then 5, and then 6, and let's kind of ramp up our releasing. So how often are we releasing to our customer? What are we doing with that feedback? Are we getting positive customer feedback? So what's our NPS or, our net promoter score, or what's our employee happiness factor? Also, there's a customer's happiness factor, but also what are our employee happiness? Are employees happy where they work? Do they work together as a team? Are they reaching out to each other to collaboratively solve problems? How quickly can we recover from an outage? Those are other items. So really, you're not necessarily looking at the progression of a project in so much that you're only looking at the business value delivered. So it's all about outcomes versus outputs.
The needle is being moved more so than we put something out the door.
Right. And how is our operations living and breathing? Are we forming together? Are we acting like a team? Are we recovering from some disaster?
This is great because we're not just solely focused, like you said, on like the progress of a project, but the health of the organization in like overall, right? Because that is a key indicator for, future success on completing work. Really, like, how is our organization living, breathing? I love that. That's great. It's a different perspective.
Yeah, precisely. And if we are living well, breathing well, and we're all happy together and we're doing stuff, you can throw anything at us and we can make it work and we can make it happen. And that allows more strategy to come into play, because then the leaders and the idea people and the innovation people can say, hey, you know what? We're going to try something new with our company and we're going to go this new direction. We don't have to remove other employees because, their skill set isn't good or anything like that. We can actually retool our current group because they work together so well. We can actually make them, upskill them in a way that, can be very quickly to change direction. Okay, so one thing to redirect or refocus on is delivering value versus delivering on if you're doing points or hours worked. And so a lot of the conversation is around how much of the budget have we spent on this? And have we used up our budget? Do we have to file a change order to ask for more budget for this project?
Or spend our budget or we won't get it again next year.
That's right. Make sure you count all these hours towards this thing. And yes, hurry up, spend this budget because we're applying for more budget for the same thing or, for the similar activity. And instead of doing that, that's an output, right? So instead of doing that, we should be focusing, if we understand that we're going to spend this much money per year on our team. So that's a known thing. We're going to spend $5 million on this entire group of people per year, no matter what happens. So what we want to do is focus on what value did we deliver instead? What value is this large initiative bringing to our customer? What are the metrics that we need to put in place along the way to know that we have delivered that value? And what are success measures for us in that mindset?
The best part, I think, of that perspective is the trickle down effect. I wholeheartedly believe that the questions that are asked or the reports that are requested impact the behavior of the entire organization. And so what I also love about that switch is that you can't help but influence the rest of your organization to also focus on, is this valuable to the customer? Are we delivering value? And just imagine the kind of change that would ripple across your organization if that was the question that everybody was asking instead of, how do I make sure that I look good or that we're busy or that we're on schedule? That's a huge difference. Yeah. The team at ISOS is easy to work with. And I know that sounds really simple, but it makes a huge difference because what we want to ensure is that we have a partnership. We are also invested in the success of your business. And so we want you to understand that we're really easy to work with. We can adjust our approach to what's going to work best with you. Like we're going to go into this together. So we're confident in our expertise. We're confident in, the experiences that we bring to the table for you to benefit from. And so you can expect from us that it will be easy to work with and we'll stay focused and help you stay focused on your highest priorities in getting the answers to the questions that are most important to your business.
And not only can we help identify the new success measures for your organization, we can suggest them, we can work with you to come up with custom ones, but also we will help you to transform and help with the change management that's involved around the different type of reporting and the different type of success measures that you're going to measure yourself against. This is huge, right?
It's more involved than just picking a different report. There's a change management, like you said, aspect to this that we're not going to leave you high and dry to figure out on your own. I'm Tracy Walton, Atlassian consultant at ISOS Technology. Thank you for joining Anne and me today to discuss organizational visibility. Visit isostech.com/getagile and download our white paper on enterprise agile transformation.